Lava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Status His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. Shri Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Sankirtan Yagya Ki. Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 3, Talks between Lord Shiva and Sati, Text 12. Pashya Prayantir Abhavanya Yoshito Pe Alankrita Kanta Sakha Varutasha Yasam Vrajadbe Shiti Kanta Manditam Nabho Vimanai Kala Hangsa Pandube Pashya Prayantir Abhavanya Yoshito Pyalankrita Kanta Sakavarutasha Yasam Vrajadbi Shiti Kanta Manditam Nabho Vimanai Kalahangsa Pandube Pashya Prayantir Abhavanya Yoshito Pyalankrita Kanta Sakavarutasha Yasam Vrajadbi Shiti Kanta Manditam Nabho Vimanai Kalahangsa Pandube Pashya Prayantir Abhavanya Yoshito Pyalankrita Kanta Sakavarutasha Yasam Vrajadbi Shiti Kanta Manditam Nabho Vimanai Kalahangsa Pandube Ladies, Kalahangsa Pandube Antira Bhavanya Yoshito. Ankita Kanta Sakava Rutasha. Vimanai Kalahangsa Pandubi. Pasya. Just see. Prayanti. Going. Abhava. O never born. Anya Yoshita. Other women. Api. Certainly. Alankrita, ornamented, Kantasaka, with their husbands and friends, Varutasha, in large numbers, Yasam, of them, Vrajadbi, flying, Shitikanta, O blue-throated one, Manditam, decorated, Nabha, the sky, Vimanai, with airplanes, Kalahangsa, swans, Pandubi, white. Translation: O never born, O blue-throated one, not only my relatives, but also other women, dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments, are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here, Lord Shiva is dressed as Abhava, which means one who is never born. Although generally he is known as Bhava, one who is born. Although generally he's known as Bhava, one who is born. Rudra, Lord Shiva, is actually born from between the eyes of Brahma, who is called Swayambhu, because he is not born of any human being or material creature, but is born directly from the lotus flower, which grows from the abdomen of Vishnu. When Lord Shiva is addressed here as Abhava, this may be taken to mean one who has never felt material miseries. Sati wanted to impress upon her husband that even those who were not related to her father were also going, to say nothing of herself, who was intimately related with him. Lord Shiva is addressed here as blue-throated. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison and kept it in his throat, not swallowing it or allowing it to go down to his stomach, and thus his throat became blue. Since then he has been known as Nilakanta, or blue-throated. The reason that Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison was for others' benefit. When the ocean was churned by the demigods and the demons, the churning at first produced poison. So because the poisonous ocean might have affected others who were not so advanced, Lord Shiva drank all the ocean water. In other words, he could drink such a great amount of poison for others' benefit. And now, since his wife was personally requesting him to go to her father's house, even if he did not wish to give that permission, he should do so out of his great kindness. Pasya prayantira bhavanya yoshito, pyalankrita kanta sakava rutasha, Yasamvrajat bisiti kanta manditam nabhovimanai kalahangsa pandu be. O never born, O blue-throated one, not only my relatives, but also other women, dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments, are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha, Patitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, well, the story is step by step developing in a particular, a very specific type of direction. And Sati is, so to speak, you could say, I mean, at least she's trying to, as they say, work on her husband, trying to influence him cleverly in different ways to bring him to a particular point which she feels is a very valuable point. It's very important to her that she achieves the particular goal she has in mind, which of course is to get Lord Shiva's permission for her to go to her father's big fire sacrifice, which is not just a religious event, but it's a big social event with all relatives and friends and everyone dressed up and all that sort of thing. And if possible, she'd like him to go along also as a husband, because it adds sort of perhaps social acceptability, or maybe it impresses people more if a lady has a special husband, then people become impressed. And Lord Shiva, of course, is, in his own way, he's very impressive. He's extremely impressive. So she's pressing him in this way and that, sort of cleverly, quote unquote, appealing to him in different ways. And here, well, she addresses him as never born, Abhava. That's one thing. But particularly, and Srila Prabhupada focuses on it a little more in this context, as, O blue-throated one. Blue-throated one, as Prabhupada explains here, and it's described in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. At a certain point in the universe, there was the churning of the milk ocean. And of course it's a long story, and we'll get there in a while. It's a very interesting story. Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. So yeah, in the course of the churning of the milk ocean, so many things came out, and many nice and wonderful things came out. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and his consort came out, but also some very unpleasant things, horrible things came out. A whole lot of poison came out. Whole lot of poison, just a huge amount. And it was so poisonous, so extremely poisonous, and there was so much of it that it appeared it might contaminate the whole universe and just ruin the universe and ruin everyone, all living entities in the universe. So someone had to do something about it. But initially, no, it was a real challenge. It wasn't going to be an easy thing at all. And for many, they might try to deal with it, but they might die trying. So generally there was procrastination was going on, some serious procrastination, and different excuses being made why I can't do it, I shouldn't do it, I, for whatever reason, can't do it. So Lord Shiva agreed, and Lord Shiva did it, and he drank up that ocean of poison. And as Prabhupada describes here, and the verse mentions, that poison was so powerful. And anyway, it was so powerful that Lord Shiva didn't want to just really consume it and take it into his stomach because it might have been dangerous for him. So he just held it somehow in his throat. But because it was so poisonous, it made his throat turn blue. And so therefore he's called Nila Kanta. Nila meaning blue, and Kanta meaning throat. Just like we have our Kanti Mala, our beads around our necks. So Nilakanta. And in this way he saved the universe, and he saved everyone. And it's interesting that in the course of doing that, so he's drinking, he was catching, somehow or other getting it in his hand, and at least that's how it's depicted. If you look in the 8th canto, you'll see such a picture. But as he's drinking it, drops are coming out, just some drops here and there. He's actually drinking the great majority of it, maybe 99% or something. So there's just a few drops coming out here and there. And those drops were then consumed by different types of creatures, snakes, scorpions, and there's some others. There are other poisonous creatures also. So they were consuming just those drops, not the whole body of poison, ocean of poison practically, but just those few drops. And from that, they became poisonous. Up until that point in time, they were not poisonous. They were just some animals like various other animals. But now they became poisonous. And they became so poisonous that nowadays, long time, just a very long time after that, their descendants are still poisonous. And some of them are really, really very poisonous. The South African black mamba is one of the most poisonous snakes, although I have read there's one or two other species that are more poisonous. Yeah, so like that. It's quite amazing, actually, that just from a few drops, they became so poisonous that even now, millions of years later, some millions of years later, their descendants they still have that poison, and they're just terribly, terribly poisonous. So Lord Shiva did that. Sati, she is doing sort of, I don't know, you might call it strategic talk. The right words at the right time to have the right effect, the desired effect. And her point there is that you're blue-throated. That means she's referring to that whole pastime. And she's referring to the mood of Lord Shiva in what he did in that pastime. So what he did was very merciful. It was very merciful. If he hadn't done that, no one else seemed like they were going to do it or could do it. And if nobody did it, the effects on the universe, on the universal population would have been just disastrous, just tragic. So he did it. It was his mercy, even though, even for him, it was difficult. He had to hold it in his throat. I don't know if he kept it there forever, but he kept it there long enough to make his throat blue. He didn't want to take it down and just try to digest it. So this was a great act of mercy on his part. Lord Shiva's very merciful. We already, when we were going through the previous chapter, we already discussed that when Daksha was criticizing Lord Shiva, that he associates with low-class beings, ghosts, and ghouls, and goblins, and hobgoblins, and pishachas, and what else? Anyway, you know, what you call them? Tickolosh, and, you know, all that. Frankenstein and company. Yes, so Daksha was criticizing Lord Shiva that, look at him, see who he associates with. And by implication, you can understand a person, sort of identify a person by the company they keep. So he's saying Lord Shiva, he associates with all these terrible people. They're off the scale, even though they have kind of, in many cases, somewhat human-looking bodies, but they're subhuman. They're not real humans. But he spends so much time with them, that means he's also low. Really low. So, but we understand that he's not associating with them because he enjoys that sort of company. He's associating with them out of his mercy. He associates with all those types of beings and tries to influence them, and does influence some of them to become devotees, to improve themselves, and in some cases to become devotees. Not all of them, of course, because, you know, as we know, it's not so easy to get people to become devotees, even nice people, what to speak of people, beings like that. But some of them become devotees. Some of them become devotees, and that's his mercy. Lord Shiva is merciful, and therefore among his the different names of Lord Shiva, we mentioned there's the name Patita Pavan or Patit Udaran, which is the same sort of thing, the deliverer of the fallen. So Sati, she wants some mercy. At least she feels that it will be mercy. Please let me go to my father's place and meet all these relatives and friends and other people who are dear to me, and it's my father's place, so I want to go to my father's place. Be merciful. She thinks, depending on the condition of a person, different people, the conditions of different people will think that different things are mercy and that other things are not mercy. And of course, some people will think that some things which are mercy, some things are mercy. They will think like that. But other people will think that the same thing is not mercy. So it depends on the type of person. And some people, or many people, they have kind of foolish ideas of what would be mercy. And they hanker for foolish things. And of course, as we do mention from time to time, Srila Prabhupada on a few occasions mentioned one lady who was making a living by selling firewood, and she would go into the forest every day in the morning and just pick up pieces of wood and take them out. And in the afternoon in the market, she'd sell that wood, and in this way she'd make a living. And Srila Prabhupada tells the story how one day she was coming out of the forest with a big load, maybe extra load of wood on her head. And she's coming out and she tripped and fell, and the wood just went all over the place. And she was tired, and life was difficult. And she prayed, "Oh, Krishna, help!" And Krishna appeared and said, "Yeah, what can I do?" And the lady, she could have asked for anything, it seems, literally anything. But she said, but what came to her was, "Could you please pick up the wood and put it on my head again?" And Krishna said, "No problem." And he picked up the wood just like that. She got up, he put it on her head. She went and sold it in the market. And then the lady thought, "Today I got the mercy." Just see how I got the mercy today. But she could have asked, as we've mentioned before, she could have asked for anything. She could have asked for billions of dollars or something like that, and never had to work for the rest of her life. She could have even asked the Lord, "Can you please allow me to become your devotee?" And she could have gone back to Godhead. But in terms of her understandings and perceptions of life and what is of value and not of value in life, she chose that. So different people have different ideas. And Like at the moment there's a lot of prayer or concern or whatever. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. But, or sometimes when people are sick, let me become healthy. But if there's peace, what are people going to do? At least so many of them, they're going to very peacefully eat meat, take intoxicants, and do things like this. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, in, if I remember correctly, his essay on Vatsasura, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta talks about people praying for good health, people who are unwell, or some person close to them may be unwell, so they pray. They pray to God, let this person become well. But unfortunately, same idea, if these people, so many of these people, if they become well, then they'll just engage in all these degraded activities and destroy themselves completely in due course. Whereas when they're sick, oftentimes when people are sick, particularly if they're really sick, they're restricted. Am I right, doctor? Of course they are. They can only eat certain things and do certain things, and they can't take intoxicants, they can't smoke, and all these types of things because of the sickness. But then they become well, and now they just eat anything and drink anything and take any intoxicants, and on the basis of people praying for them to become well. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta makes the point, it may sound a little sort of, anyway, a bit of a heavy point. He says, for these types of people, it would be better if they stayed sick. It's true, actually. It may sound a little mean, but actually it's true. For that sort of person, better they stay sick. So, yeah, mercy. Mercy's a very important thing. The mercy of the Lord and great people like Lord Shiva. Their mercy is a very important thing. And Lord Shiva, Sati knows, he has been merciful. He has that nature. He has that type of heart. He's willing to accept something that he normally would definitely not want to accept. But to help other people, he may accept it despite reluctance. So she's using strategic talk, or trying to, by reminding him how, you've been merciful, so you should be merciful to me. Because her idea of mercy is that he will let her, and maybe even accompany her, to the sacrifice of her fathers. However, her understanding, anyway, the point of mercy is an important point. In the Bhagavatam, I forget exactly where it is, but there is the story of Dadichi. Dadichi was a Brahmin and ascetic, like a real renunciate, just living in the forest, just kind of living on nothing, doing austerities. And the demigods were defeated by the demons, but they wanted to have another go and try and defeat the demons. But they needed some special Shakti, some special power, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it. They'd just been defeated by the same demons that they want to defeat. So how to get power? How will we get power? Aha. We will do some special sort of function with the bones of some very powerful person, and we'll somehow get some of the person's power out of their bones, and then we'll become powerful somehow or other. So, but they needed a volunteer. You know, it's one thing to ask for a volunteer to drink some poison. It's another thing to ask a person, would you mind dying? Could you please die so we can break up your body and take your bones out? Is that okay? So they approached Dadichi, and that's exactly what they said to him. First of all, they preached that, mercy is such a high principle. Everyone should be merciful. And Dadichi, of course, is agreeing, yes, you're right. And then they say, well, look, we're in trouble. We need some mercy. Could you help us? Maybe. We just need your bones. It would be very merciful of you. So he agreed. And he just died, and they just took his bones, and they just used his bones. They became powerful and defeated the demigods and got their very enjoyable heavenly planets back. So, the principle of mercy is important. It's extremely important for everyone, and particularly for us as devotees, to try to cultivate mercy and actually be merciful, help those who need spiritual help, particularly spiritual help. It's very important for a devotee's development to cultivate that. But now in this particular case, Sati is she's working on her husband to get him to be merciful. But he, of course, he's highly intelligent. He understands. And anyway, we'll see that her idea of mercy, let me go to this function of my father's, her idea of mercy was not a very good idea of mercy, because she went there, and Lord Shiva knew, and she kind of must have had at least some idea that if she went there, she would become grievously insulted, and it would just be too much for her. Lord Shiva knew that, and he was trying to be merciful to her by telling her, don't go. But in her, with her mistaken idea of what's mercy and what's not mercy, she wanted something. Well, anyway, she got it, and she paid the price. She committed suicide because of the insult of her father. And Lord Shiva knew something like this is going to happen. But still, anyway, he tries to stop her, but she just goes. Yes, so she's addressing him in different ways. It reminds us, of course, of the beginning of Bhagavad Gita and different places in Bhagavad Gita, but particularly in the beginning, when Krishna and Arjuna address each other with different sort of their names, descriptive terms, names, in terms of the ideas that they're presenting, different names. Like we mentioned the other day, Arjuna, who doesn't want to fight, he doesn't want to kill anyone at that point. He addresses Krishna as Janardhan. Janardhan can mean different things, but one thing it can mean is killer of the people, destroyer of the people. And Arjuna addresses Krishna like that. Arjuna doesn't want to fight. Krishna wants him to fight. Krishna wants the battle to happen. Arjuna doesn't. So effectively Arjuna is saying, listen, you want the people to be killed? Go ahead. Kill them. I don't. I'll just take a break. I will relax. Take a little nap. You kill the people. You want them killed. Go ahead and just wake me up when you're finished. So like this, Krishna addresses Arjuna as Gudakesh, someone who's overcome sleep or overcome ignorance. Don't be ignorant. Don't be stupid. And this is part of Vedic culture. People can be addressed in different ways, possibly in terms of circumstances. And that's what's happening here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comment or question or words of wisdom? Where's the mic? I mean, is anyone got a question or comment? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.